Hi there, welcome to Fantasy Hub. I'm Mia, your storyteller. Today's story is filled with heartache, discovery, and a twist you won't see coming. So let's begin.
It was a Tuesday in March when she walked in. I remember because Tuesdays were always my slowest days, when I'd spend hours tinkering with new formulations in my tiny back office, surrounded by amber glass bottles and the lingering ghosts of jasmine and bergamot. The bell above my door chimed, and I looked up from my journal where I'd been sketching out notes for a new spring blend. She stood backlit in the doorway, and for a moment she looked like something out of a dream. Tall, athletic build, with wild curly hair that caught the afternoon light like spun gold. She wore faded jeans and a vintage band t-shirt, but she moved through my carefully curated space with the confidence of someone who belonged in much fancier places. "Sorry," she said, her voice warm and slightly breathless. I was walking by and caught the most incredible scent. Had to see where it was coming from. She had an accent, soft traces of something that spoke of places warmer than California. When she smiled, it transformed her entire face, made her dark eyes sparkle with genuine curiosity. "That would be my latest creation," I said, suddenly self-conscious about the pencil tucked behind my ear and the ink stains on my fingers. "Still working on it, actually." "It's amazing," she said, moving closer to the display where I'd placed a few sample bottles. Like walking through a garden after rain, but with something deeper, something that makes you want to lean in closer. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. No one had ever described my work so poetically, so intimately. Most customers asked about longevity and price points. This woman was talking about emotion, about desire. "I'm Chelsea," she said, extending her hand. "Chelsea Garcia. And you're clearly a magician." "Eva Bennett," I replied, taking her hand. Her grip was firm, warm, and lasted just a moment longer than necessary. "And it's just chemistry, really. Finding the right balance. Just chemistry." She laughed, a sound like silver bells. "Honey, nothing about what you've created here is just anything." She spent the next hour wandering through my shop, asking thoughtful questions about my process, my inspiration, the stories behind each fragrance. She had an aromatherapist knowledge, could identify base notes and understand the emotional impact of different scent combinations. More than that, she had a passion that matched my own, a reverence for the art of fragrance that I'd never encountered in a customer. "I have to ask," she said as I rang up her purchase, 3 small bottles including my unnamed spring blend. "Do you offer consultation services?" "I'm working on some projects that could use your expertise." "What kind of projects?" I asked, trying to keep my voice professional despite the flutter in my chest. "I run wellness workshops," she explained. "Aromatherapy, meditation, that sort of thing. I've been looking for someone who really understands scent on a deeper level. Someone who gets that fragrance isn't just about smelling good, it's about transformation." Before I could second-guess myself, I heard my voice saying, "Why don't you come back tomorrow? We can talk about it properly." Her smile was radiant. "I'd love that." After she left, I stood in my empty shop, surrounded by the lingering traces of her presence, something bright and citrusy with undertones of vanilla and warmth. I found myself wondering what her skin would smell like up close, then immediately pushed the thought away. She was a potential client, a young potential client. I was being ridiculous. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd described my perfume, the way she'd looked at me when she talked about transformation. It had been years since anyone had looked at me like that, like I was fascinating, like I had something valuable to offer beyond my professional services. Chelsea returned the next day wearing a sundress the color of ripe peaches that made her skin glow. She'd brought coffee and pastries from the cafe down the street, claiming she wanted to properly discuss business. But the way she looked at me over her cup, the way she leaned forward when I talked about my formulation process, felt like anything but business. "Tell me about your workshops," I said, trying to maintain some semblance of professionalism. "I work with women mainly," she explained, settling into the velvet chair I'd placed near my consultation area. "Women who are going through transitions, divorce, career changes, empty nest syndrome. I help them reconnect with themselves through sensory experiences." "And you think custom fragrances would help with that?" "I think," she said, her dark eyes intense, "that scent is the most direct path to memory and emotion. When a woman finds a fragrance that truly represents who she is, who she's becoming, it's transformative. It's like wearing your authentic self." The way she talked about transformation, about helping women discover themselves, resonated with something deep in my chest. Wasn't that exactly what I'd been trying to do with my own life? What I'd hoped to help others do through my fragrances? I'm interested, I said. What did you have in mind? For the next 2 hours, we talked about scent profiles and emotional associations, about the difference between comforting and empowering fragrances, about how smell could trigger confidence or peace or sensuality. Chelsea had a natural intuition for aromatherapy that complemented my technical knowledge perfectly. By the time she left, we had outlined a collaboration that would provide custom fragrance experiences for her workshop participants. This is going to be incredible, she said, gathering her things. Then, almost as an afterthought, she turned back. Ava, thank you for taking me seriously, for seeing the vision. Not everyone would. Thank you, I replied, for reminding me why I love what I do. After she left, I realized I was smiling, really smiling for the first time in months. My struggling boutique suddenly felt full of possibility again. Over the following weeks, Chelsea became a regular fixture in my shop. She'd arrive in the mornings with coffee, stay through lunch discussing fragrance profiles for her upcoming workshops, then linger into the evening as our conversations drifted from business to personal topics. I learned that she'd moved to Chula Vista from Miami 2 years earlier, drawn by the California wellness scene and the opportunity to build something meaningful. She'd left behind a family who didn't understand her work, a serious relationship that had ended when her partner decided Chelsea's dreams were impractical. Sometimes I think they were right, she admitted one evening as we sat in my back office, surrounded by testing strips and half-finished formulations. Maybe I am chasing something that doesn't exist. What are you chasing? I asked. Connection, I guess. Real connection. The kind where someone sees all of you and doesn't want you to be different. She looked at me then, her gaze direct and vulnerable. What about you? What are you chasing? The question caught me off guard. I'd gotten so used to deflecting personal inquiries, to maintaining professional boundaries. But something about the way Chelsea looked at me, the genuine curiosity in her voice, made me want to be honest. Relevance, I said finally. I spent 20 years selling other people's products, making other people rich, being who they needed me to be. I guess I'm trying to prove that who I really am matters, that I have something valuable to offer the world. You do, she said simply. Your work is incredible, Eva, but more than that, you're incredible. The way you talk about fragrance, the passion in your voice when you describe a new blend, it's beautiful to watch. The compliment hit me like a physical force. When was the last time someone had called me beautiful? When was the last time someone had seen past my professional competence to the woman underneath? That night, as I locked up the shop, I caught my reflection in the window and saw something I hadn't noticed in years. I was glowing. There was color in my cheeks, brightness in my eyes. Chelsea's presence in my life was changing me, awakening parts of myself I'd forgotten existed. The transformation happened gradually, then all at once. Chelsea and I had been working together for 6 weeks when she arrived one evening with news that would change everything. I got into the California Wellness Expo, she announced, practically vibrating with excitement. They want me to present our fragrance collaboration as part of their innovative therapy showcase. Chelsea, that's incredible, I said, jumping up from behind my desk to embrace her. It was meant to be a congratulatory hug, professional and brief. But when her arms wrapped around me, when I felt her body warm and solid against mine, something electric passed between us. We pulled back slightly, but didn't let go. Her hands remained on my shoulders, mine at her waist. The air between us seemed to shimmer with possibility. Ava, she whispered, her voice rough with something that made my pulse race. Yes, I need to tell you something. These past weeks, working with you, being here, it's not just about business anymore. You make me feel... She paused, searching for words. You make me feel like I could conquer the world. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure she could hear it. Chelsea, I know there's an age difference, she said quickly, as if afraid I'd stop her. I know this complicates our professional relationship, but I can't pretend anymore that I don't feel this connection between us. Before I could respond, before I could overthink or second guess or remember all the reasons this was complicated, she kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, giving me the chance to pull away. But instead, I melted into her, my hands fisting. in her shirt as months of suppressed attraction came flooding to the surface. She tasted like the vanilla lip balm she always wore and something uniquely her that made me dizzy with want. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. "Tell me I didn't misread this," she whispered. "You didn't," I managed, my voice barely recognizable. "God, Chelsea, you didn't." That's when she moved closer, backing me up until I felt the edge of my desk against my hips. Her hands found my face, thumbs stroking along my cheekbones as she looked at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. "I've been thinking about this for weeks," she confessed. "About you. About what it would feel like to touch you, to—" She kissed me again, deeper this time, her body pressing mine back against the desk. I gasped at the contact, at the way she felt solid and warm and absolutely perfect against me. My hands explored the curve of her back, the silk of her hair, while she made small sounds of appreciation that sent heat shooting through my core. "Is this okay?" she asked, her lips trailing along my jaw to the sensitive spot behind my ear. "More than okay," I breathed, tilting my head to give her better access. She laughed softly against my neck, the vibration making me shiver. "Good, because I've been dying to do this." Her hands found the hem of my blouse, fingers tracing the skin just above my waistband. The touch was innocent, but it set me on fire, made me arch against her with a need I hadn't felt in years. "Chelsea," I whispered, her name a prayer and a plea. She pulled back to look at me, her dark eyes warm with affection and desire. "We should probably talk about this. About what it means, where we go from here." Reality crashed back in waves. The age difference, our professional relationship, the fact that I was her elder by 15 years and technically her business partner, all the complications I'd been trying to ignore came flooding back. "You're right," I said, even as every cell in my body protested the idea of stopping. "We should talk." But as she helped me straighten my clothes, as we tried to restore some semblance of professionalism to the charged atmosphere of my office, I knew there was no going back. Something fundamental had shifted between us, something that couldn't be undone by good intentions or practical concerns. The next few days were a delicate dance of professional collaboration laced with personal tension. Chelsea continued to come to the shop, continued to work with me on fragrance profiles for the expo. But now every casual touch lingered, every shared glance carried weight. "We need to talk about boundaries," I said finally on a Thursday evening. When the shop was closed and we were alone in my office reviewing presentation materials. "Do we?" she asked, looking up from the notes she'd been making. "Because I thought we'd established that we both want the same thing." "It's not that simple, Chelsea. I'm 15 years older than you. I'm your business partner. If this goes wrong, she interrupted, standing up and moving to where I sat behind my desk. "We'll figure it out." "But Eva, what? If it goes right? What if this thing between us is exactly what we've both been looking for?" She moved around my desk, her hands coming to rest on the arms of my chair as she leaned down to look into my eyes. "I'm not some starry-eyed kid with a crush on an older woman," she said seriously. "I'm 27 years old. I've been in love before. I've had my heart broken. I know what I want, and what I want is you. Not just professionally, not just physically, you." The conviction in her voice, the maturity in her eyes, made my protests die in my throat. When had I started thinking of myself as too old for passion, too settled for new love? When had I decided that being 42 meant accepting less than everything? "I'm scared," I admitted quietly. "So am I," she said, her hands moving to cup my face. "But I'm more scared of pretending this doesn't exist, of letting fear rob us of something that could be incredible." That night, for the first time in years, I didn't go home to my empty apartment and my routine of wine and Netflix. Instead, I went to Chelsea's place, a cozy bungalow filled with plants and vintage furniture and the lingering sense of essential oils. We didn't make love that night, both of us understanding instinctively that we needed to build this foundation carefully, thoughtfully. Instead, we talked until dawn, sharing stories and dreams and fears, learning the contours of each other's hearts. "Tell me something nobody else knows about you," Chelsea said as we lay on her couch, my head on her shoulder, her fingers playing with my hair. "I'm terrified I'm not good enough," I admitted. "That my perfumes are amateur efforts, that I'm fooling myself thinking I can compete with real perfumers. And I'm terrified I'm too much," she replied. "Too intense, too passionate, too everything. My ex used to say I was exhausting to be around." Your ex was an idiot, I said fiercely, lifting my head to look at her. Your intensity is one of the most beautiful things about you. Don't ever apologize for feeling things deeply. Her smile was radiant. See, this is why I'm falling for you. You don't want me to be smaller. You want me to be exactly who I am. I do, I said, leaning up to kiss her softly. I really do. Our relationship deepened over the following weeks as we prepared for the Wellness Expo. What had started as professional collaboration evolved into something much more personal and powerful. Chelsea pushed me to enter one of my fragrances in the International Perfumers Competition, something I'd been too intimidated to attempt. Your spring blend, she insisted, holding up the bottle I'd been working on when we first met. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced. You have to enter it. I'm not ready for that level of competition, I protested. Those are real perfumers. People who've been doing this for decades. And you're not real, she challenged. Your work isn't valid because you started later in life. Eva, you have a gift. Don't let fear keep you from sharing it with the world. Her belief in me was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. With her encouragement, I refined the formula, created the perfect bottle design, and submitted. My entry, Desert Bloom, with just days to spare before the deadline. The night I hit send on the application, Chelsea surprised me with a candlelit dinner in her backyard garden. What's all this for? I asked, taking in the string lights. She'd hung between the trees, the table set with her grandmother's china. We're celebrating, she said, pulling out my chair. You just took the biggest professional risk of your life. That deserves recognition. Over dinner, we talked about our dreams for the future. Chelsea's vision for expanding her wellness practice. My hopes for Bennett Fragrances becoming something bigger than a small boutique. But underneath the professional aspirations ran a current of something more personal. Where do you see us in all of this? I asked as we shared dessert, her homemade tres leches cake that tasted like childhood memories and pure joy. Wherever you want us to be, she said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I know this is complicated, Eva. I know there are challenges we'll have to navigate. But I love you. I love your passion, your creativity, your strength. I love the way you smell like jasmine and vanilla at the end of every workday. I love how your eyes light up when you talk about a new fragrance idea. My breath caught. You love me? Completely, she said without hesitation. I love you completely. I love you too, I whispered, the words feeling both terrifying and absolutely right. I didn't think this could happen for me again. I didn't think I was allowed to want this. You're allowed to want everything, Chelsea said fiercely. Love, success, happiness. All of it, and I want to help you get it. That night, she stayed over at my apartment for the first time. We made love slowly, carefully, learning each other's bodies with the same attention to detail we brought to our fragrance work. She was generous and patient and so beautiful in the soft lamplight that I had to keep touching her face to convince myself she was real. Afterward, as we lay tangled in my sheets, she traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. I have something to tell you, she said, her voice soft in the darkness. My heart clenched. What? The competition results come out next week. I may have submitted a video testimonial about Desert Bloom as part of your application. I sat up, pulling the sheet around me. You what? Don't be mad, she said quickly. They allow customer testimonials, and I wanted the judges to understand the emotional impact of your work. How it made me feel, how it changed my perspective on fragrance as art. Chelsea, I told them that your perfume didn't just smell beautiful, it told a story. About renewal, about finding beauty in unexpected places, about the courage to bloom even in harsh conditions. She sat up too, her hand finding mine in the dark. I told them that you changed my life, Eva, because you did. I should have been upset about her going behind my back. Instead, I was overwhelmed by the depth of her belief in me, her willingness to put herself out there to support my dreams. What did I do to deserve you? I whispered. You existed, she said simply. You walked into my life with your gorgeous perfumes and your incredible talent and your way of making me feel like anything is possible. You deserve every good thing, Eva Bennett, starting with winning this competition. The call came on a Tuesday morning 3 weeks later. I was in my shop, working on a new formulation while Chelsea organized our expo materials, when my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in over a year. Rachel, my ex-partner of 8 years. The woman who left me for someone younger, someone More fun, someone who didn't spend their evenings obsessing over scent combinations and fragrance notes. Ava, Rachel's voice was exactly as I remembered. Smooth, confident, with just a hint of the southern accent she'd never quite lost. I hope it's okay that I'm calling. Chelsea looked up from her work, immediately sensing the tension in my voice as I moved to the back office for privacy. What do you want, Rachel? I asked, my heart hammering against my ribs. I heard about your shop. About the competition entry? I'm proud of you, Ava. I always knew you had it in you to do something incredible. The words I'd once desperately wanted to hear now felt hollow. Too late. Thank you. I'm in San Diego for business next week. I was hoping we could get coffee, catch up properly. I know how things ended between us. WASN single quotes T dot dot ideal. Ideal. Such a polite way to describe the devastation she'd left in her wake. The way she'd walked out of our shared life with barely an explanation beyond, we've grown apart. I don't think that's a good idea, I said. Please, Ava, I miss you. I miss us. Maybe we could. No. The word came out sharper than I'd intended. Rachel, I've moved on. I'm with someone now, someone who values what I have to offer. I'm happy. There was a long pause. The aromatherapist. I heard rumors. Dot dot. Of course she had. In the small world of Southern California wellness professionals, news traveled fast. Her name is Chelsea, I said firmly. And yes, we're together. Ava, honey, you know I don't judge, but don't you think this might be a rebound situation? She's very young, and you're in a vulnerable place with the business and everything. Stop. The word came out low and dangerous. Don't you dare diminish what Chelsea and I have. You lost the right to have opinions about my love life when you walked out. I made a mistake, Rachel said quietly. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Can't we just talk? After she hung up, I sat in my office staring at the phone, emotions churning through me like a storm. Anger at Rachel's presumption. Fear that she might be right about Chelsea. Confusion about why her reappearance affected me at all when I was so happy with my new life. Everything okay? Chelsea appeared in the doorway, concern written across her beautiful face. My ex wants to meet, I said without preamble. She thinks what we have is a rebound. Chelsea was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then she moved to where I sat and perched on the edge of my desk, her hand finding mine. Do you think it's a rebound? She asked. The question caught me off guard. I'd expected jealousy, insecurity, demands that I refused to see Rachel. Instead, Chelsea was asking me to examine my own heart, my own motivations. No, I said, the certainty surprising me. What I feel for you. It's not about getting over Rachel. It's about you. About us. About the life we're building together. Then that's all that matters, she said simply. If you need to see her to get closure, to prove to yourself that you've moved on, I support that. I trust you, Eva. I trust us. Her grace in the face of potential threat, her willingness to put my emotional well-being above her own insecurities, made me fall even deeper in love with her. I don't need to see her, I said, pulling Chelsea closer so she was sitting on my lap, her arms around my neck. I already have everything I need right here. The call about the competition results came the following Friday. I was with Chelsea at her place, helping her prepare for a weekend workshop, when my phone rang with an international number. Ms. Bennett, this is Marie Dubois from the International Perfumers Competition. I'm calling with wonderful news. My hands started shaking before she even delivered the verdict. Chelsea abandoned her essential oil preparations to sit beside me, her hand finding mine. Desert Bloom has won first place in the contemporary artisan category. The judges were particularly impressed by the emotional narrative of your fragrance and the innovative use of regional botanicals. I couldn't speak. After 42 years of playing it safe, of following conventional paths, of doubting my own instincts, I had won. Actually won an international competition against perfumers, with decades more experience. The prize includes a 10,000 euros award and an invitation to present at the International Fragrance Symposium in Paris next month. Congratulations, Ms. Bennett. Your work is truly exceptional. When I hung up, Chelsea launched herself into my arms, with a shriek of joy that probably woke her neighbors. You won. You actually won. Ava, you're going to Paris. We're going to Paris, I corrected, spinning her around my kitchen. I can't do this without you. I won't do this without you. That night, we celebrated with champagne and Chinese takeout and the kind of giddy, breathless lovemaking that comes from shared triumph and infinite possibility. As we lay in bed afterward, Chelsea's head on my chest, I felt a completeness I'd never experienced before. I have something to ask you, I said, my fingers combing through her wild curls. Move in with me? Not just for convenience, not just because we're together. Because I want to build a life with you, a real life. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep in your arms every night. I want us to be partners in everything. Business, art, love, all of it. She lifted her head to look at me, her dark eyes serious. Are you sure? I know this is happening fast and with the age difference. I've never been more sure of anything. I interrupted. Age is just a number, Chelsea. What matters is how we feel together, how we challenge each other to be better, how we fit. And we fit perfectly. We do, she agreed, her smile radiant. In that case, yes, absolutely yes. I love you, Eva Bennett. I love your passion and your talent and your beautiful heart. I want to build everything with you.